Hi guys, it's Katie and Kahlan back out on the Paulette farm. We are moving sheep today, so I wanted to kind of give you guys a look at that, show you a little bit of where they've been before and how our grass improves every time that we move them, just with introducing a new sheep manure into the ground, adding more nutrients back, and then helping to just improve our land as a whole. So Kahlan, can you kind of tell us a little bit more about your sheep?
So the breeds that I run are Kahlan and St. Croix. I'm hoping to add a bit of Dorper. The reason I do Kahlan and St. Croix is because they have a higher parasite resistance, and the Dorper is going to help build the body while still keeping that resistance.
Okay. So why did you go with those instead of like the traditional?
Well, the traditional, when I was looking at it, they don't do as well with grass, and it's a lot of work to shear a sheep. And so I went with the hair sheep, which they're much more, they turn grass into meat better than woolies, and they're less maintenance.
Okay. So if you want, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of walk down towards them. We're fixing to move them, so they're going to get a little antsy the closer we get. So make it a little loud, but we'll show you kind of what the pasture looks like as they've gone through it. And we'll have Jacob kind of walk down towards them and show you how it looks. So this is the first place they were at when we did our post about the sheep being back on pasture. So they hit this. It just kind of had a lot of the winter vetch, as well as just the undergrowth that had started to grow up at the beginning of spring. So if you kind of look, it is a little sparse, but it is growing back really, really well. And then Jacob, if you want to come with me, I'll show you kind of where they've gone now. So as you can see, once you get past the original spot where they had a lot of the woody materials that grew during the winter, you can kind of look at it and you can see exactly where the new growth is coming in. It's actually coming in a lot thicker than it was whenever we put them out here. And each paddock you can kind of see, Jacob, I don't know if you can see it. Can you tell right where the lines are, where each paddock has been?
Yeah, it's showing up a little bit. So like, cause y'all are looking like over here, kind of towards this wood post, you can see we've got T-posts with standoffs. And so like Katie was saying, this first paddock here is where they first came out right after we weighed the lambs. And then we moved them into this next paddock, which was actually our, kind of our sacrifice paddock last year during the drought. This is where we kind of finished out our American guinea hogs. That way we weren't impacting the rest of the field too bad.
And it actually looks quite well, especially with it being hit so hard last year. And then the sheep have already hit it this spring, but it is growing in this place after the drought last year was just complete dirt. So you can tell with the different manure load of the hogs and then the sheep this spring, it's really kind of starting to fill in really well. And then over here, it is just taken off. So,
although we still wouldn't want to put them back on it yet, because the tips aren't grown back, which means that's not quite ready. Once there's tips back on it, it means the sheep can go back and eat it.
Right.
Well, and how long do you leave your sheep in a spot normally?
We try to go
about 3 to 6 days normally.
3 to 6 days. Sometimes with market, it ends up being about a week. But then we move them to a new fresh paddock, and they get very antsy when we do because they know the supplies. And of course, we always have a little helper who will come every now and then.
Yep.
Poor kitty.
One of the barn cats.
All right. So this is the most recent move that they have. So they've been off of this area for a few days. About 5 days now, right, Kahlan? 5 or 6? 5 days, I think.
Yeah.
They've been off of this for 5 days. So you can tell exactly where our wires go because there's this nice little berm where they decide they don't want to touch it. So we have these nice little lines, kind of helps us figure out exactly where we've had them. But it's coming in really well, and you can always tell that it's a newer growth because it's that bright spring green. So all of the sheep are now starting to shed.
Yeah.
So you can kind of tell we have lots of birds around the farm, and they pick this up and use it as their nesting material. We'll have it all over the eaves of our front porch whenever our little swallows decide to start making their nest here in a week or so.
And the back.
Yes. The bats take it too. So you can kind of see them, and then we have our lovely fancy sheep that are waiting on us.
Yeah, so you guys can kind of see the size of the paddock as we get closer. Katie and Kahlan came out earlier this morning and set up the fence for the next move, or at least set up the post. We still have to run the hot wire here in a sec.
All right, is everybody ready to move? Yeah. So everybody's here waiting at the fence. We had to clean out some other fence rows before we could move their paddock. So just kind of wanted to show you where everybody comes and meets us and waits not so patiently until we get the next paddock ready. So Kahlan and I are out here working on it, clearing out some fence rows, getting ready to move them, and then they'll be on their way.
Alrighty, so sorry about that. We had a slight technical difficulty, but like we were saying, the next set of posts have already been set up. And so you can see they've already hit this area pretty good. And they know what the drill is, so they're ready to go. So we're just gonna walk down the electric fence here and let you kind of see where they've been.
Here's your buddy.
Yep.
Come on, Yang. I know, come on,
Yeah,
guys.
so they're ready to go. So as soon as we get this next wire set up, they're gonna be ready to come through. So we'll get down here and me and Kahlan will show you kind of how we run the wire. So what we do is we use T-posts to kind of set our corners, provide a little bit of tension with the standoffs, and we just use the step-in post to kind of build the sidewalls. So here, I'm gonna hand this over to Katie real quick.
Okay.
You can't use my fingers.
All right, yeah.
And you guys will kind of see, especially in the field that we're moving them, the section that we're moving them into in the field, this has a lot of the winter growth. So it has a lot of the Sericea lespedeza that we've talked about that we're trying to get rid of. So they will start running the wires. We run them. Unfortunately, we had a sheep that decided to teach everybody to jump. So she, unfortunately, is no longer with us, but we have where we start training them at 3 different wire heights. So we'll go through that and they will get used to it, and then hopefully we'll be able to take them down to 2 wires, and that way we can just run them with the 2 the entire time they're on the pasture. So give them just a minute. They're getting all their supplies ready, and we're going to show you guys how we get all the wires set up. Okay, so we had some technical difficulties. One of them decided she was done waiting on us. So Wila's taken off, and now Jacob and Kahlan are going to rapidly put up the wires to make sure she doesn't decide to take off throughout the field. So bear with us. Alright, so we've kind of taught them a little trick called London Bridge. So Kahlan's going to unhook these wires and lift them. Everybody will run over to her and go underneath the bridge to the new paddock.
London Bridge, come on. It's okay, Xerxes. Sit, come on, bud. Go see Mom.
Alright, there you have it.
Next one, quickly. Okay, so small crisis averted. We were able to move the sheep, and we have taken down their last paddock.
So as you can see, just a few minutes after we move them, everything else is down except for the T-post, which we leave so we can rotate back in on the next section over. So temporary grazing situation, we do rotational, and then that way we don't have to have any permanent paddocks set up.
However, as you saw me doing the London Bridge, that's gonna be ended because apparently Wila and possibly other sheep, even though they're losing their winter coat, think that they move fast enough they can get under without getting zapped. So we're gonna start going back to making gaps with the reels so we can get them in without having any blow through.
Alright, so everybody's back out on the next pasture. As you can see, they're already doing a very good job starting in on it, and Zap is very happy over there. So they will stay here for a few days. We'll let them munch down on it, and then they will be moving down to the last section in this row, and then they'll start coming back up the hill. So they're enjoying their lovely treat now.
Good sheep and did not blow through. Looking at you, Wila.
All right, well, thank you for joining us on this loveliness, and we'll talk to you guys all again.